Hi, Dave here at EMP. It's just to welcome you to a new series of videos mainly about composition or production of your music, focusing on the Maschine ecosystem because of how tactile it is and how quickly I've found that I've been able to convert to it. Watching lots of amazing tutorials online, definitely not by reading the instruction manual, it might as well be written in a foreign language. But Jeff Givens has done great tutorials, how to work with Maschine from scratch. And then there's all the Boris videos on the NI website as well. So I just used those and made myself not just watch them, but actually interact with the Maschine and got to grips with it that way. And it took me away from, I can't remember how many decades of being stuck in Logic on the linear timeline. I do love the ideas view because it did change the way that I produced it. It helped me to move along a lot faster. Music for an outdoor scene with country and folk influences. So, onto Maschine workflow. I'll put a little bit of this on first. So what you're listening to there, it's not mastered, mixed. In the master channel, I've got ozone and I've got a limiter. What I do is I press shift and I will keep the limiter on and I'll bypass ozone. It's impossible to use something like ozone in Maschine. The delay compensation isn't there like it is in a lot of the DAWs. So if you're wanting to maybe audition or try out something new ideas with something that eats a lot of CPU in real time and actually changes your sound, you're going to have trouble with that. So back to sound and back to the arranger again. So getting quick using this thing is essential. Now you need to be careful straight away. Once you've gone from ideas mode, where I get a good idea of what I've laid out, I can also see my groups and what they're called and what instruments are in there. Once you've gone into song mode, be cautious here. The pads then become selection of your scenes. This, I've got my scene there. Play my scene. In order to be able to work with the instrument again, I will just use the events button generally. So on, off. Back to looking at my project again. The other way to do that is to turn arranger off. Now that allows you to actually see your plugins as well. And from there, of course, you're one press away from being able to see every plugin and what it's called. That takes me back to this first group, the kit. Quite often I'll just immediately delete the top two rows. So here, I chose to be an A minor for this piece. And then I cannot remember where I found these. I think they were in loops somewhere, but I've renamed them, so I have no idea where the originals are floating around. What I would have done with those is they probably were samples. I don't think they were loops, so I would have turned them into the audio module and then clicked on the export, or because we can't easily export from the hardware itself, drag that back onto the instrument slot itself so that it would be in sync with my project tempo, then turn it back into a sampler to change things like the envelope to ADSR. I didn't want them to be one shots, so I can make the envelope have quite a short release time. Back to arranger again. So yeah, events on and off is mainly what I'll be using here. If I'm in pad mode like this, it's a nice way, instead of just seeing A1, B1, C1, to be able to press pad mode and see all my groups again. Press pad mode again, toggles back to the arranger view. Turning arranger on and off takes me back to the actual sound slot that I'm on. I can press pad mode to toggle between the overview and the view of every sound, and back to the individual sound that's selected. Of course, I can then select different sounds if I want to work on them. Back to the arranger view again. The only time that method falls short is when I've got an instrument, like in group D. I can see, I've got an instrument because I've gone and left it in keyboard mode. That allows me to then see the events. Now, there's no events in this scene. Let's find a scene that has events here for group D. First, no slide, so I'll press scene, select that, and then suddenly in events mode, what I've recorded appears. Okay. So toggling events on and off lets me see what I've recorded, but toggling arranger on and off here is the only way to see the actual plugin and work with it. If I go and press keyboard mode, it just takes me to this view, which for me is not really any use. I'm not recording using Maschine. For my MIDI input, I'm using a keyboard. I wish I could change this screen so it did like what we get with pad mode, where you can see your groups again as a reminder about your groups. That view is useful, that view is useful. For me, that view is just no use. So when I've got an instrument, I don't tend to press the keyboard mode button. I know I've got an instrument, I just leave that alone, use the events button, and if I want to see my plugin, I'll use the arranger button to go down to the plugin there. Let's have a look at some more of this piece. I'll play some more of it. So scene, let's go between the intro and the chorus. So holding them both will create a loop on the timeline. Make sure follow's lit and play. I wanted a pedal steel guitar as well, and I wasn't going to fork out for one of those. I did end up converting a play series instrument into a pad sound and used the sequencer to give it some rhythmic movement. Now I'm going to do a whole session on play series instruments because I've got right into the nuts and bolts on those and how to use them in completely different ways than many people will have thought of. It's really just about me sharing my workflow ideas on Maschine. It's going to be much more ambient style and using a modular setup plugged into my audio interface as well if you're into modular synthesis. Synthesizing from the ground up using oscillators, talking about wavetable grain synthesis, but really presets. We've got so many presets whether you use Massive, Massive X, Prism. See a preset as potential. I can't have somebody else's sound in my music. It has to be either completely warped out of all recognition or I have to understand the nuts and bolts of how that is made so I can change it in a way that fits the style of the piece, the feeling of the music that I want. So yeah, a lot of talking about presets and how presets in a way showcase somebody's synth, you know, that's been invented. They showcase the person's programming skill. But quite often, a preset can be so complicated with LFOs and movement going on here and there. Wow, that sounds amazing, let's favourite it. But then you've got so much deconstruction to do to turn it into something that's actually usable. So yeah, I've got a lot of chatting to do about that as well, I guess. So anyway, I'll sign off for now, and please do subscribe and check back if you see a video that interests you. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.